Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. And today we are back in the light tent here because we're going to make ourselves a Ragnaros, and Ragnaros is big. How big exactly we will get into once everything's put together and start doing the size comparisons, but yeah, this is going to be a thing. So down here you can see all the extra bits like the feet, the hands, the chest plate. Stuff that I kind of wish stored better in the robot modes and vehicle modes for these different guys, but it is what it is. Also, we've got Blastoff and Vortex's guns in the middle there, along with Onslaught's big gun. And I transformed everyone back into their vehicle modes because that's primarily where we want everyone to be, except for Caligos or Onslaught there, because he's going to be a torso. So, I'm going to do my best to try and keep everything on camera. This is going to be a bit tricky, but we will see how this goes. I think first off, I'm going to get all this extra stuff out of the way here. And what the heck, I will take Brawl/Archmon's and Gazranka/Swindle's guns as well while we're at it, because I'm not going to need those for the combined mode limbs, so one sec. And there we go. So now that all of the extra bits have been moved, let's make ourselves a Ragnaros. Okay, that was exhausting. It's not super easy to keep all that plastic held up at arm's length over extended periods of time. My goodness. I'm pretty sure I did a bad job of keeping all of that on frame, so I am sorry, but I did what I could. This thing is really big and heavy, so sorry, but that's the best I got. And so here we have Ragnaros all combined up, and it is a very, very cool looking Bruticus. I'm at odds with my preferred method of display, because you can do some stuff with the chest piece, which I'll do in a minute, but I think this looks good, and I think having that grayish, like the lightish gray in the center like that actually works really well, but then I also think having the alternate chest piece looks really good, so it's kind of a toss-up. Now what's weird about this is certain things about this combined mode actually don't do it for me, which is not what I expected. I mean, I'm fine with the proportions. I'm totally fine with the proportions. I know some people don't like how the tail of the helicopter is jutting up like that, giving him an enormous pointy shoulder. I don't mind, and it's not really because of my large shoulder pad fetish. I just think it looks fine, and it actually does a pretty good job of being somewhat symmetrical with the nose cone of the rocket sticking up there. It's like it's a little bit longer, but it's also a little bit narrower, so they're not 100%, but I'm cool with that symmetry. I like the proportions, I like the overall look of this, I like the design, but the colors bug me a little bit. The light grays seem like they're a little too light, and the blue seems like it could do with being a touch darker and possibly a little bit more saturated. This isn't speaking from the perspective of what I think is most G1 accurate. I'm just saying, like, looking at it as a whole, I kind of wish that the head was just a little bit darker, and the chest and pelvis were a little bit darker. Hands and feet maybe a little bit darker, although the feet don't bother me too much because you get a lot of additional colors in there, like the gunmetal and the darker gray. But yeah, wish the colors were slightly different. But anyway, going to change out the chest piece real quick. Like, I do think this looks good, and the shape of this chest piece mirrors a little bit of what you see down here, but I also kind of like having the other chest piece where you slap this and the wings and stuff on to give it, I guess that's like the G1 cartoon look. But anyway, I'm going to change that out real quick, and then we'll talk about that. Alright, and there he is with the different chest piece. And like I said, I'm not entirely sure which I prefer, because I like the shuttle cockpit and wings making up the chest piece there, along with the intakes from the helicopter mode, and I do think it's kind of cool how the chest piece is made up of pieces from the arms and the torso. But at the same time, color-wise, you get a lot of the brown, gray, and purple both in the arm and in the chest, and it seems a little bit imbalanced, but I'm not against imbalanced stuff, so I don't know. I think for me the biggest thing that I'm not 100% sure on with this chest piece is the fact that it's a bit smaller than the gray one, and the gray one does a better job of kind of covering up some of these areas along the sides here. I mean, it's not immediately noticeable when you're just looking at it, but like if you go in and really start to scrutinize this a little bit, then you start to notice things like these little bits sticking out here, and it's like very slightly noticeable mess behind that chest piece, and the gray one just covers it up a little bit better. It is what it is. And at least you've got options, and I think it's cool that you've got options, and you know, if you want to use this, then the regular gray chest piece can turn into sort of hip skirts for the combined mode, and if you want to use the gray chest piece, then that all can just end up storing on the arms so it stays out of the way. So I like that. All right, so what do you say we give him his gun? Let's get that out of the way before we finish up with this. Alright, and now he has his gun, and that looks pretty cool. With the problem being, you know, Vortex's guns are super loose, and that's really annoying. Anyway, I do like that the weapons can all combine. I was watching Emgo's video and he was talking about how it's designed to be very modular, so you can do lots of different configurations. So, kudos to Unique Toys for that. And yeah, this is, again, I think this is a cool looking set. It's just, I kind of wish the head was a little bit darker. Kind of wish the hands and the waist area were a little bit darker. But overall, I do think it looks pretty darn good. So let's move him off to the side now so that we can do size comparisons. Anyone who follows me on Instagram or Twitter, you probably know that this guy is quite large. Quite large. But in the event that you don't, well, there's Ragnaros with a Power of the Primes Deluxe, and he's a biggin'. He's kind of absurdly big, and he's leaning back slightly. Lean forward, there you go. Yeah, he's very large. He's a lot bigger than I expected him to be. I don't quite know what I was expecting, but once I got Caligos and messed around with the armless combine mode a little bit, I was just like, whoa, okay. And for yet another size comparison, here he is with what I consider the default size for a Megazord. And yeah, still quite large. quite large. And finally, the size comparison that everyone's probably been waiting for if they haven't already seen it. Here he is with Unite Warriors Devastator, or Combiner Wars Devastator, doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, there he is, there's Devastator. They are not only practically the same height, but Ragnaros is actually a smidgen taller at the head. He's so ridiculously large. Next to Devastator, he does look a bit muted, and this, I think, plays to what I was saying before with the fact that, like, the head and the hands and stuff like are a little bit too light. I kind of feel like it'd be nicer if some of these colors were just a little bit more saturated. Not highlighter green. not highlighter green. No. But I just kind of wish that these colors were just a little bit more saturated because they just look a little bit too washed out, especially when standing next to something as ridiculously bright and colorful as Devastator here. And now that all the size comparisons are out of the way, I realized I forgot to get in close on that head, so let me do that real quick. And yeah, from what I understand it, that's a Bruticus head. It's got the telltale faceplate with the overarching kind of large eyebrow shelf thing, the swept back crest, the antenna. It's got a very Bruticus vibe going on this head, and it does look good. I just wish it was a tiny bit darker, but like I like the details on it. There's, you know, the overall shape is very indicative of what I understand the G1 Bruticus to be, and then it's got like some smaller details to just kind of spice up the sculpt a little bit more. And at this point, I think that is going to do it. That has been Unique Toys Ragnaros, and for a brief amount of time, I sort of regretted going in on this set because Archimon, Gazranka, and Caligos I thought were cool, but like these guys just weren't quite doing it for me. But I mean, the combined mode is pretty darn cool, and they do look good as a set. It's just, you know, these guys, Blastoff and Vortex, could have definitely been handled a lot better. Anyway, that's enough about what I think. What do you all think? Have any of you out there gotten your hands on Ragnaros? Do you have an opinion on the G1 cartoon chestplate versus the gray chestplate that I think is supposed to be evocative of the toy? I don't really know. Are you bothered by the helicopter tail shoulder, or is that just kind of eh? Are there any other things with this that you'd like or don't like? Because, I mean, I may be the only one who feels like the light grays are too light. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to comment down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any of those would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is huge and more than meets the eye. Seriously, this thing's practically an installation. It's so big.